ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले सोऽयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So Mataji, I would like to confirm if you can hear my voice clearly.
Yes, Prabhu, it's very clear.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you very much, dear devotees, once again for kindly inviting me here to speak something on the occasion of Shri Krishna Janmashtami. And we just performed Mangalacharan prayers, and I would like to begin by showing my presentation screen. So for that, Mataji, I will need to get screen sharing, if it could be enabled for me.
Yes, Prabhu, I just enabled it for you.
Okay, thank you. Mataji. So thank you, dear devotees, for kindly being present here today. And today is our presentation on relishing the pastimes of Lord Krishna's appearance. Today is Janmashtami, and here in India, the day of Janmashtami has just begun. So I am very happy to be presenting this in front of all of you. Dear devotees, before we begin the pastime of the appearance of Lord Krishna, before we begin relishing it from the point of view of various acharyas, I would like to start by reading something which Srila Prabhupada has written in relationship with the activities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport to Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, verse 43, the Supreme Lord Krishna has senses and a body like the ordinary man. But for him, there is no difference between his senses, his body, his mind, and himself. Foolish persons who do not perfectly know him say that Krishna is different from his soul, mind, heart, and everything else. Krishna is absolute. Therefore, his activities and potencies are supreme. It is also stated that although he does not have senses like ours, he can perform all sensory activities. Therefore, his senses are neither imperfect nor limited. No one can be greater than him. No one can be equal to him. and everyone is lower than him. So, dear devotees, this is the statement of Srila Prabhupada in his purport to Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, verse number 43. Srila Prabhupada is very clearly telling us that although Krishna has a body and external senses, just like we humans have a body and external senses, but at the same time, there is no difference between Krishna and Krishna's body, but there is a difference between we conditioned souls and our bodies. So that is the categorical difference between us and Krishna. That Krishna and Krishna's senses and Krishna's body are all the absolute truth. Whereas in our case, we, our body, our senses are not the absolute truth. Therefore, Prabhupada says in conclusion, no one can be greater than Krishna. No one can even be equal to Krishna. But definitely, everyone is lower than Krishna. So, on Janmashtami, we should keep this tattva about Lord Krishna in our minds because it is important to understand Krishna from a tattva point of view before we start relishing the Krishna Lila from a rasa point of view. Previous to this, I have spoken twice on Janmashtami for different congregations, and there mainly I have discussed Krishna Lila from a tattva point of view and some rasa point of view. Today we will try to focus exclusively on the rasa point of view, which is we will try to relish Krishna Lila, the pastimes of Krishna Lila, as they are specified in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the previous acharyas. Before that, dear devotees, it is very important to speak something in the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of Vedic literature, and as you can see, it has been tasted by Shukadeva Goswami himself. Shuka means parrot, literally, and Shuka also refers to Sri Shukadeva Goswami. So, this is the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic literature, and Lord Krishna has ensured that Sri Shukadeva Goswami personally tastes this fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam. And after Shukadeva Goswami has tasted this fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam, this fruit has become even more tasteful. So, various devotee poets have glorified Srimad Bhagavatam. So, there is a verse written in the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse is written in a very sweet meter called as Druta Vilambitam. I will share this verse with you. This verse is in front of you. I will chant this verse. शुकमुखादिह भागवतामृतम् विगलितं शुभदैव वशान्महत् समनुलक्ष्य बुधान्यगदन्त्विदम् त्यज सुधे वसुधे भज धन्यताम् त्यज सुधे वसुधे भज धन्यताम्. Says Shukamukhadiha Bhagavatamritam. This verse is written actually on the same lines as the third verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam Shukamukhadamritadrava samyutam पिबत भागवतं रसमालयम् मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुका. So in the same meter, this verse is also composed by a devotee poet. It says Shukamukhadiha Bhagavatamritam. From the mouth of Shuka, from the mouth of Shukadev Goswami, Iha, in this world, Bhagavatamritam, this nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vigalitam, it is, it has appeared in this world on this planet Earth. So specifically on this planet Earth, this Amrita, Bhagavatamritam, has appeared from the mouth of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. And it has appeared Shubhadaiva Vashan Mahat. So Mahat Shubhadaiva Vashan. It has appeared due to Mahat, great Shubhadaiva Vashan, out of great good fortune of this planet Earth. Actually, it is the immense good fortune of this planet Earth that Srimad Bhagavatam has chosen to appear on this planet. So the poet says, Samanulakshya, knowing this fact that the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam is a nectar, it has appeared on planet Earth. Udhanya gadantvidam, all the intelligent souls loudly proclaim. They loudly proclaim something. What do they say? Tyaja sudhe vasudhe bhaja dhanyatam. Tyaja sudhe dhanyatam. They loudly call out to the nectar in heaven, because all the demigods, they have nectar in heaven. So the saintly souls on this planet, they loudly call out to that nectar which is there in heaven. They say, Tyaja sudhe dhanyatam. Oh Sudha, oh so-called nectar in heaven, you give up your so-called auspicious position. And Vasudhe, oh earth, you accept that auspicious position today. Because the nectar of the heavenly planets, it has become completely, defeated by this nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Sudhe Tyajadhanyatam, you give up your sense of auspiciousness. And Vasudhe Bhajadhanyatam, and O earth, O Vasudha, you accept that auspiciousness. Because today, after Srimad Bhagavatam has appeared, you truly are blessed. So this is the translation, dear devotees. Knowing well that due to the extreme good fortune of planet Earth, the nectarian descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam have now come forth from the mouth of the parrot-like Sri Shukadeva Goswami. All the intelligent souls of the world proclaim loudly, O Sudhe, O Sudha nectar, which is present in the heavenly planets, give up your false sense of auspiciousness. And O Vasudha, earth, all that auspiciousness belongs to you now. Please accept it. So this, dear devotees, is the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. Our 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the narration of the appearance of Lord Shri Krishna. So every good pastime or every good story begins with a phrase. That phrase is once upon a time. So similarly, our pastime of the appearance of Lord Krishna also begins with once upon a time. And Srila Prabhupada describes this in his Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada says, once the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings who were actually demons, but were posing themselves as the royal order. At that time, the whole world became perturbed, and the predominating deity of this earth, known as Bhumi, went to see Lord Brahma to tell of her calamities due to the demoniac kings. Bhumi assumed the shape of a cow and presented herself before Lord Brahma with tears in her eyes. She was bereaved and was weeping just to invoke the Lord's compassion. She related the calamitous position of the earth, and after hearing this, Lord Brahma became much aggrieved, and he at once started for the ocean of milk where Lord Vishnu resides. So, dear devotees, we can see here that Bhumi, the presiding deity of planet Earth, she was distressed because there were so many living entities on her surface who were creating a lot of disturbance for her. Especially these were ruffian kings who were demoniac in nature, and they were exploiting the earth as well as the people who were residing on earth. And because of such exploitation, she became very dejected. And you can see here, she went to Lord Brahma. And this is Bhumi Devi in front of Lord Brahma. She was praying to Lord Brahma. Now, dear devotees, we have to relish the pastime from a rasa point of view. So, I would like to now introduce a commentator who is one of the favorite commentators of my Guru Maharaj, Srimad Radha Govind Das Goswami Maharaj, on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. My Guru Maharaj would never fail to speak from this commentator. This commentator's name is Sri Hari Suri, and he is the one who wrote an elaborate commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, explaining the various reasons for why Krishna did what Krishna did. So, Sri Hari Suri's commentary begins with this particular narration of the earth approaching Lord Brahma. And Sri Hari Suri says, actually, the earth is most intelligent. She is the most intelligent petitioner of all times because she approached Lord Brahma. And there is a reason why she is very intelligent. And he is going to explore the reason why earth or Bhumi is a most intelligent petitioner. And he has written his commentary in beautiful Sanskrit, very ornate Sanskrit, sometimes extremely difficult to understand. Dear devotees, Sri Hari Suri is saying that Mother Earth, especially, is approaching Lord Brahma to give a petition. And before that, there should be understood that this Brahma is not the same Brahma who stays on Satyaloka, because Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he wants to add a small point that Brahmanam Sumeru Murdhasthitam eva, na tu Satyalokastham. She went to Lord Brahma who was situated on top of the Sumeru mountain, not the Brahma who was situated in Satyaloka. So there are two Brahmas in this universe. One who stays in the assembly of the demigods on top of the Sumeru mountain, that is an expansion of the original Brahma who stays on top of Satyalok. So there is a Brahma who stays in Satyalok. This was not the Brahma to whom Bhumi went. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. Why did she not go to the Brahma who is situated in Satyalok? So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the Brahma who was situated in Satyalok, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. That Brahma was engaged in speaking to Revati and her father, because Revati and her father, they both had approached Lord Brahma because they could not find a suitable husband for Revati. So while they were speaking to Lord Brahma, many yugas passed. And for that reason, Lord Brahma said, many yugas have passed by the time you came here to Brahmaloka. So if you go to planet Earth right now, Krishna and Balaram are about to appear. And when they appear, this Revati can marry Lord Balaram. So that Brahma was engaged in speaking to Revati and her father. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says this Brahma whom Mother Earth approached is a different Brahma, and this Brahma is the one who is situated on top of the Sumeru mountain. So Sri Hari Suri says at this point of time that the earth is the most intelligent petitioner, and she is the most intelligent petitioner because she knows whom to approach and how to narrate her petitions. And this beautiful verse is composed by him. I will recite this verse. This verse is in the meter Shardula Vikriditam. This is the same meter as Shad Goswami Ashtakam. I will try to recite this verse. प्रेयानप्यनिशं वशोभिनितरां शान्तोऽपि कान्तः सुतम् द्वारीकृत्य तदन्तरङ्गमिह सम्प्रार्थ्यो न जातु स्वतः सत्स्त्रीलक्षणमेत्य एतदित्यभिकलम् प्रख्यापयित्री तदा धात्री सात्मभुवं ययौ प्रथमतस्तत्साधु मन्यामहे. Sri Hari Suri says, the earth could have approached her husband directly, Lord Vishnu, because the earth is one of the wives of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu has two wives primarily. One is Shri Devi, that is Lakshmi Devi. Another is Bhu Devi, that is Mother Earth. And when did he accept Earth as his wife? When he was executing the pastime of Varahadev, he lifted planet Earth upon his tusks, and at that point of time, he accepted planet Earth, Mother Earth, as his wife. So Sri Harishwari says she could have gone directly to her husband, Lord Vishnu. But no, she did not do that. She is the most intelligent petitioner. He says, Preyan appi. So that although her husband is Preyan, very loving, her husband Lord Vishnu is very loving. Bhumi's husband Lord Vishnu is very loving. Preyan api. Anisham Vashopi. And Anisham, 24 hours he is at her command. Nitaram Shantopi. And although he is very Shanta, he is very peaceful, Lord Vishnu. Kantah, Mother Earth has such a good husband. But still, she did not approach him directly. Why? Sutam dvari kritya tadantarangamiha. So she told her distress to her son, which is Brahma, because Brahma is born from Lord Vishnu and Mother Earth is the wife of Lord Vishnu. So in that relationship, Brahma becomes like a son to Mother Earth and Vishnu from that point of view. So Dwari Kritya. So rather than narrating her distress to her husband directly, she told it to her son, Lord Brahma, Samprarthyo na jatu swatah. Because when the child will come to the father and narrate the distress of the mother, at that point of time, the father will definitely be moved and will definitely do something. Because if the mother goes directly and narrates her distress, there may be a small possibility that the husband may think, uh, she's she's speaking something in order to fulfill her own desires, her own selfishness. But if the child speaks the distress of the mother, then definitely the father, Lord Vishnu, will take immense interest. Sri Hari Suri says, Satstri Lakshanameta Vikalam Prakyapayitri Tada. Satstri Lakshanam. This is the sign of a very intelligent lady. And Mother Earth was demonstrating all the signs of a very intelligent lady. And for this reason, Dhatri Satma Bhuvam Yayau Prathamata. So first and foremost, she went to Atma Bhuvam. That is, first and foremost, she went to Lord Brahma. Tat sadhu manyamahe. And I, Arisuri, consider it to be very appropriate. This is the translation, dear devotees. Mother Earth thought, although Lord Vishnu is my beloved husband, although he is extremely calm in nature and submissive to all my desires, yet Brahma is born from his navel, and thus he is like a son to him as well as to me. Therefore, it would be wise to keep our affectionate son Brahma in front of me to speak on my behalf instead of praying directly to the Lord. I, Harisuri, think that Mother Earth showed the characteristics of an extremely intelligent woman when she first approached Brahma in this manner. So, dear devotees, this is his wonderful realization as to why Mother Earth approached Lord Brahma and not directly Lord Vishnu. He has given many other realizations on this one point as to why she approached Lord Brahma. He has also given a realization on why she became a cow and why she accepted the form of a cow and approached Lord Brahma. But there are so many of those realizations, and it is not feasible to cover all of them today. But this is one of his realizations that he has given in his work. Now, Srila Prabhupada describes in the Krishna book that Lord Brahma and all the other various deities of this universe, demigods, they approached Lord Vishnu. So Lord Brahma, he took all the deities of the universe and they approached Lord Vishnu at Shweta Dvipa, which is the ocean of milk. And Lord Brahma was the one who communicated all the prayers of Mother Bhumi to Lord Vishnu. Srila Prabhupada describes Lord Brahma was accompanied by all the demigods headed by Lord Shiva, and Bhumi also followed. Arriving on the shore of the milk ocean, Lord Brahma began to pacify Lord Vishnu, who had formerly saved the earthly planet by assuming the transcendental form of a boar. Then Prabhupada says, in the Vedic mantras, there is a particular type of prayer called Purusha Sukta. Generally, the demigods offer their obeisances unto Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by chanting Purusha Sukta. It is understood herein that the predominating deity of every planet can see the Supreme Lord of this universe, Brahma, whenever there is some disturbance on his planet. And Brahma can approach the Supreme Lord Vishnu, not seeing him directly, but by standing on the shore of the ocean of milk. So, this, dear devotees, is our Lord Brahma, who, along with the various other deities of the universe, we can see there is Lord Shiva, there is Lord Indra, there are the various other deities of this universe. They have all approached along with Lord Brahma. So, Lord Brahma is leading all of them, and they have all approached Lord Vishnu in order to satisfy him and in order to narrate their prayers, especially the prayers of Mother Earth to Lord Vishnu. So, this is what Srila Prabhupada says in the Krishna book. At this point of time, Sri Hari Suri says, let's go back and see what Lord Brahma has done. Lord Brahma has directly approached Lord Vishnu. And Sri Hari Suri asks a very important question. He asks a question, why does Lord Brahma have to approach Lord Vishnu directly? You know, why can't he just sit in his own place and meditate upon Lord Vishnu? So, Sri Hari Suri says, it's a very important lesson that Lord Brahma wants to teach all the devotees of the Lord. And what is that lesson that Lord Brahma wants to teach? He wants to teach a lesson to those lazy impersonalists. Who are the lazy impersonalists? Who say that God is present everywhere and therefore we don't need to go to the temple in order to pray to him. We can just sit in our place, and from our the comfort of our place we can pray to Lord, because the Lord is present everywhere as the impersonal Brahman. Sri Hari Suri says we should not be such impersonalists. And Lord Brahma has shown by his example that we should not be impersonalists. And he composes a beautiful verse in order to make his point. This verse is also in the same meter, Shardula Vikriditam. I will sing this verse and then explain its meaning. लोके व्यापक एव यद्यपि विभु सत्यं तथापीष्टदो ध्येयो ध्यानजुषा समेत्य भगवान् प्रसादमेवोज्ज्वलम् सद्वर्त्मेदमिति व्यबोधिविधिना दुग्धाब्धिमा जग्मुषा नो चेत् स्वस्थल एव सर्वविदसौ चक्रेण योगं कुतः. Sri Hari Suri says, Loke Vyapak Eva Yadyapi Vibhu. Is it not a fact that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere all around us? It's a fact. Definitely it's a fact. Satyam, he says it is Satyam. Tathapishhtado. But still, if you want to pray to him, if you want him to give you a benediction, Dhyeyo dhyan jusha sametya bhagavan, then any person who wants to meditate on the Lord, wants to pray to the Lord, then the Lord should be meditated upon. The Lord should be prayed. How? Prasadamevojvalam. By approaching the prasad, by approaching the temple of the Lord. So although the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, if we want to pray to the Lord for something, we should definitely approach the prasad. Prasad means we should approach the temple of the Lord or the abode of the Lord. Eva ujvalam satvartnedam. That this is the brilliant path which is shown by our Lord Brahma. Sadvartmedam iti vyabodhi vidhina. Our vidhi, our Lord Brahma, he has shown this brilliant ujvalam satvartmedam. He has shown this brilliant path of conduct that all devotees should follow. Dugdhabdhima jagmusha, because he himself approached the ocean of milk. Dugdh abdhi. He approached the abode of the Lord when he wanted to pray for something. And Sri Hari Suri says, no chet, if you don't believe this, swasthala eva sarva vidasau, could he not have, you know, resided at his own place and then meditated upon the Lord directly from his own place? Chakrena yogam kuta, could he not have executed meditation from his own planet? He could have definitely done that. But if we want to pray to the Lord for something, then we should definitely, by all means, approach the temple of the Lord, the abode of the Lord, and then we should pray to the Lord. This is the translation, dear devotees. Even though the Almighty Supreme Lord is all pervasive in this universe, still a person desiring to pray to Him and meditate upon Him should do so by personally approaching the Lord's abode, that is the Lord's temple. This is the spotlessly correct path of devotion which was clearly demonstrated by Lord Brahma, who personally approached the abode of the Lord, which is the milk ocean. Those who do not believe this fact cannot answer why the intelligent Lord Brahma did not sit in his own abode, that is Satyaloka, and meditate upon the Lord in order to pray to him. So, this is a beautiful realization, a message which is given to all devotees that they should not be impersonalists. Whenever they want to ask the Lord for something, they should approach the abode of the Lord, that is the temple of the Lord, and then humbly ask the Lord for whatever they desire. At that point of time, it is described that the Lord responds to Sri Brahma's call. Srila Prabhupada describes in Krishna book that there was a message transmission from Lord Vishnu to Brahma. So Lord Brahma also heard the message of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Brahma also could not see him directly. Lord Brahma also heard. And the other deities definitely could not see him. So nobody saw Lord Vishnu at that point of time with their eyes, but Lord Brahma heard Lord Vishnu's message in his heart. So there was a message sent by Lord Vishnu to Lord Brahma. Brahma then broadcast the message to all the demigods. The message was this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear on the earth very soon, along with his supreme powerful potencies. And as long as he remained on the earth planet to execute his mission of annihilating the demons and establishing the devotees, the demigods should also remain there to assist him. They should all immediately take birth in the family of the Yadu dynasty, wherein the Lord would also appear in due course of time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, would appear personally as the son of Vasudeva. Before his appearance, all the demigods, along with their wives, should appear in different pious families in the world just to assist the Lord in executing his mission. So the Supreme Lord very clearly told Brahmaji that I am soon going to appear on earth along with my various potencies. Please instruct all the deities, all the various demigods to appear on planet earth. So this was the clear message which was given to Lord Brahma, and we can see that only Lord Brahma, he himself, was the one who was able to hear the message. All the other deities were dependent upon Lord Brahma to know the exact message that was conveyed to him by the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Then Srila Shukadeva Goswami goes ahead to describe what happened during the marriage of Devaki and Vasudeva. So the subject matter in the Srimad Bhagavatam gradually changes, and then it comes to the actual time wherein the pastime of Krishna Lila begins. And this is the marriage of Devaki and Vasudeva. Srila Prabhupada describes this in the Krishna book. He says, once upon a time, Vasudeva, the son of Shurasen, just after marrying Devaki, was going home on his chariot with his newly wedded wife. The father of Devaki, known as Devak, had contributed a lavish dowry because he was very affectionate towards his daughter. He had contributed hundreds of chariots completely decorated with gold equipment. At that time, Kamsa, the son of Ugrasen, in order to please his sister Devaki, had voluntarily taken the reins of the horses of Vasudev's chariot and was driving. While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, there were different kinds of musical instruments playing to indicate the auspicious moment. There were conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums combined together. They were vibrating a nice concert. The procession was passing very pleasingly, and Kamsa was driving the chariot when suddenly there was a miraculous sound vibrated from the sky, which especially announced to Kamsa, Kamsa, you are such a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister and your brother in law. But you do not know that the eighth child of this sister will kill you. So there was a voice in the sky which directly called Kamsa a fool. So this voice in the sky is known as Akashvani. And when there is some Akashvani, it is to be understood that the various deities in the sky, the various demigods in the sky, they are the ones who are speaking through this invisible voice in the sky. So the deities, that is the demigods, are the ones who were speaking this to Kamsa. And it is very surprising that these demigods, they were actually earlier very afraid of Kamsa. They would not even appear in front of him. But today they have gathered the strength to directly call Kamsa a fool in front of his own sister, in front of his own relatives, in the marriage ceremony of his own sister. All the demigods in the form of the voice in the sky, all of them combined together and shouted out and mocked Kamsa as a number one fool. So you can see the expression of Kamsa as he looks in the sky. He's very frustrated. But a question arises, how did the demigods get so much strength that they were able to call Kamsa a fool right from the sky? So commentator Sri Hari Suri says that even the weakest person can start shouting. Even the weakest person can start shouting if something happens. And what happens? He narrates through a beautiful verse in the same meter. Yad भीतिर्मनसि स्थिता विधिबलात् तच्छिक्षकेण भयम् दत्तं चेत् स हि कीदृशोऽपि गतभीस्तस्याग्रतो गर्जति युक्तं ब्रह्ममुखेन दैवतगणो लब्ध्वाम्बुधावाश्रयम् दैत्यारेर्गतसाध्वसं नभसि यत् कंसाग्र एवं जगौ. Sri Hari Suri says, Yad bhitir manasi sthita. If there is a weak person, very weak person, and he's afraid of a strong person, therefore, Yad bhitir manasi sthita. Whatever fear is there in the mind of the weak person, Vidhi balat, if by good fortune. Vidhi means good fortune. One meaning of Vidhi is good fortune. Another meaning of Vidhi is by the arrangement of Lord Brahma, because Vidhi also means Brahma. Vidhi balat, if by good fortune or if by the arrangement of Brahma. Ta chikshakena bhayam, if that weak person is given an assurance of safety by a person who's very strong, even stronger than the so-called strong enemy. Dattam chet sahi kidrishopi, then no matter how weak this person is. Gatabhi is, because now he has an assurance of protection. All his fear disappears. Tasyagrato garjati. So this weak person immediately starts coming in front of that so-called strong person and starts roaring out of joy. Yuktam Brahma Mukhena Daivata Gano. Therefore, it is very appropriate that when Lord Brahma has given an assurance that Lord Vishnu is going to come and protect all of you deities, demigods. Labdvam Budhavashrayam, and on the shore of the milk ocean, they got this assurance. So immediately, Daityarer Sadvasam, immediately they got an assurance from Lord Vishnu, and all the fear in their heart disappeared. And because their fear disappeared, they came very confidently in the form of the Akashvani in the sky, Nabhasyat Kamsagra Evam Jago, and they started roaring loudly in the form of that Akashvani, the voice in the sky in front of Kamsa. This is the translation. If a weak person has fear in his mind regarding his enemy, and if a person more powerful than that enemy comes and gives protection and assurance to the weak person, then this weak person will not hesitate to shout out loudly in front of his enemy. It was therefore appropriate that when the various gods obtained assurance and shelter from the Lord by hearing the words of Brahma, they could no longer feel any fear in their hearts and shouted out loudly against Kamsa in front of him on the pretext of the voice in the sky. So, this, dear devotees, is the realization as to why they started shouting in front of him through the via medium of the Akashvani. So, at this point of time, what happens is that Kamsa immediately grabs Devaki by her hair and pulls out his sword in order to slaughter Devaki. And at that point of time, Vasudev assures Kamsa, he tries to protect Devaki by all means possible. He assures Kamsa that please do not perform this ghastly act of killing your own sister. I assure you that all the children that are born from me and Devaki, I will bring all of them to you, and you can kill them so that you will be satisfied that Devaki's eighth son is not your killer. So Kamsa immediately believed Vasudev. Why did Kamsa immediately believe Vasudev? Why did he not have a fear that Vasudev may cheat me? Because one of the names of Vasudev is Anaka Dundubhi. Anaka and Dundubihi. These are two musical instruments. When Vasudev was born, the demigods in the sky played these two musical instruments, Anaka and Dundubihi. And they told everyone that this person who is born is a most truthful person and he will not speak any lies. So, whatever Anakadundubihi, that is, whatever Vasudev speaks, he is not going to turn back on his word. And even Kamsa knows that he can blindly trust the word of Vasudev Anakadundubihi, because when he was born, the demigods had proclaimed that he is not going to speak a single lie. So, Anakadundubihi or Vasudev assured Kamsa that I will personally hand over each and every child of mine to you, so that you can be convinced that this child is not your killer. Meanwhile, Lord Krishna, knowing very well that his time of appearance was approaching, he ordered Maya, and Srila Prabhupada describes this in Krishna book, because Kamsa had imprisoned Devaki and Vasudev so that he could ensure that they do not run away and they give each and every child of them to Kamsa. So they were imprisoned, shackled in iron chains. At that point of time, uh, something happened. The Supreme Lord gave an order to Maya. Let's read that. Within the prison, shackled in iron chains, Vasudev and Devaki gave birth to a male child year after year. And Kamsa, thinking each of the babies to be the incarnation of Vishnu, killed them one after another. He was particularly afraid of the eighth child, but after the visit of Narada, he came to the conclusion that any child might be Krishna. Therefore, it was better to kill all the babies who took birth from Devaki and Vasudeva. When Devaki became pregnant for the seventh time, a plenary expansion of Krishna known as Ananta appeared within her womb. Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation. So, the seventh time Ananta Shesh, that is Balaram, appeared within her womb. She was joyful, for she could understand that Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her womb. But at the same time, she was sorry that as soon as her child would come out, Kamsa would kill him. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, being compassionate upon the Yadus who were fearful due to the atrocities committed by Kamsa, ordered the appearance of Yogamaya, his internal potency. Krishna is the Lord of the universe, but he is especially the Lord of the Yadu dynasty. So you can see Krishna here, he called upon Yogamaya, and Krishna is asking Yogamaya to do something for him. He is ordering Maya to do something for him. So at this point of time, Sri Harisuri says that this particular incident, that Krishna ordering Maya, it shows that Krishna is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dear devotees, I want to ask a question to all of you. Have you seen any other incarnation of the Supreme Lord, any other incarnation, who has directly ordered Maya, who has directly given an order to Maya Devi? And if you try to think of all the other incarnations, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Vaman, Nrisimha, Ram, Balram, none of the incarnations you will find that they are giving a direct order to Maya Devi. But in this Krishna, as Krishna, he is able to give a direct order to Maya. And therefore, Sri Harisuri says, Sri Vyasadeva has correctly written in Srimad Bhagavatam, Ete chamsha kalaha pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That Krishna is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Mayinam to Maheshwaram, only he who is directly capable of ordering Maya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, let's see what order he gave to Maya. The Lord thus informed Yogamaya, under the imprisonment of Kamsa are Devaki and Vasudeva. And at the present moment, my plenary expansion, Shesha. Please note, dear devotees, Krishna gave him a name, Shesha. So, Krishna spoke to Yogamaya that my plenary expansion named Shesha is within the womb of Devaki. You can arrange the transfer of Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. After this arrangement, I am personally going to appear in the womb of Devaki with my full potencies. And I shall appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. And you shall appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan. Since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since you will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within the world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations, incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. People who are after materialistic perfection will worship you under the different forms of your expansion, which will be named Durga, Bhadrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumuda, Chandika, Krishna, Madhavi, then Kanyaka. and Maya, Narayani, Ishani, Sharada, and Ambika. So Krishna assured Maya that if you do this for me, there are so many things which will happen for you. People will worship you all around the earth. So, he's promising all these things to Maya Devi. Krishna is promising all these things. He's giving an order, you do this for me. And besides the order, he's also giving her an incentive. What is the incentive? He's telling her, if you're doing this for me, so if you do this, and the people will immediately start worshipping you, and they'll offer you flowers, incense, everything. So Sri Hari Suri says at this point of time, every master should learn from this, because every person who is in a position of being a leader should learn from Krishna's example. What should every leader learn from Krishna's example? Sri Hari Suri says, कार्ये सत्युदिते स्वयं नृपतिना सत्कार्य एवार्हणै नित्यं सन्निहितः स्पशोऽपि कुरुते कार्यं सतेनोत्सवात् नीतिर्नीतिमता व्यबोधिहरिणा सत्कृत्य मायां तदा कार्ये योजयता प्रभोरितरथा किं सेहते वेतनम्. So Sri Hari Suri says, Karye Satyudite. Once a very important task arises, if you have to carry out a very important task, Nripatina, the king or the leader, any person who is in a position of leadership, Sat Karya Evarhanai. So he should definitely give incentives and he should give respect to his servant who is executing the task. Nityam sannihitah spashopi. Although the servant may be his eternal servant like Maya, their servant is not going to go away. Maya is never going to not be Krishna's servant. She's always going to remain her servant. But still, Krishna is offering her so many incentives. One should learn. Why? Spashopi kurute. By doing so, even a servant who is an eternal servant, he does the work with renewed enthusiasm. Karyam satenotsavat utsavat. That same servant will do the same task out of enthusiasm if you give some incentives and some encouragement to the servant. Nitir niti matavya bodhi harina. Lord Hari knows all the nitis, all the wisdom he is aware of, and therefore he demonstrated this wisdom. Satkritya mayam tada, when he himself gave a lot of respect and incentives to Maya. Karye yojayata prabhoritharatha. And this is something which Prabhu Krishna demonstrated for us, that you should give incentives, you should give encouragement to a servant whom you want to get some important work done from. Itaratha, otherwise, Sri Harisuri says, if this was not the case, Kim se hate vetanam, did Maya ever ask him for any salary? Did Maya ever ask Krishna for any salary for anything that she is doing for him? No. So why is Krishna offering all these incentives to Maya? The reason why he is offering is not because Maya asked him for something, but because it is good policy of all leaders that if they are getting something done from some person who is their servant or who is under them, then they should offer all incentives and encouragement to that person. And this is a very good way of becoming a leader. So this is something which we all can learn, because someday we will all be in a leadership position. The translation is as follows: whenever an important task comes up, the king should certainly offer various gifts and incentives to the servant, so that the servant performs that task with ever renewed enthusiasm. This wisdom was demonstrated by the Lord when he greeted Maya and offered her various designations before engaging her in his service. Otherwise, did Maya ever ask him for any remunerations for her service at any point of time? So, this is an important lesson that we should learn from Krishna's example. I also pointed out that Krishna specifically called him Shesha. Dear devotees, Krishna specifically called him Shesha. He says, my plenary portion Shesha is in the womb of Devaki. Why call him Shesha? So, Lord Krishna wanted to prove a very important point. This is the important point. Sri Hari Suri says Lord Krishna had something in his mind. किंचित कार्यवशान्मयार्य पदवीं रामो यमारोपितः तेनैवाल्पदृशो भजन्तु मयि श्रद्धां कनीयानिति इत्यात्मन्यनुपाधिका किल जगज्ज्येष्ठत्वमव्याहतम् व्यक्तीकर्तुमसौ तदा तदभिधानं चकाराच्युत. Lord Krishna was thinking, actually, in my previous incarnation, I was the elder brother and my name was Ram. And this time, in this incarnation, I am going to be the younger brother, but I have offered this name Ram to Ananta. So, Kinchit Karya Vashanmayarya Padavim. For some reason, in this incarnation, I have given Arya Padvi, the position of elder brother. Ramo Yamaropita. Not only have I made him the elder brother, but I have also given him the name Ram, Balram, in this incarnation. So, in the previous incarnation, I was the elder brother and I also had the name Ram. In this incarnation, for some reason, I am going to give him the position of the elder brother and I am also going to give him the name Ram. Tenaivalpadrisho, but short sighted people, they might start thinking, Bhajantu Maina Shraddham Kaniyaniti. Those short sighted people should not think that, in reality, he has become lower to Balaram. In reality, he has become a servant of Balaram because Balaram is the eternal servant of Krishna. But short sighted people may end up thinking that because he is the younger brother now, and Balram is the elder brother now, and Balram being the elder brother also has the name Ram, which was the name of the elder brother in the previous incarnation. So they may start thinking that now Balaram is the original supreme personality of Godhead and they may not have so much faith in Krishna. Therefore, Ityatmanyanupadhika kila jagat in order to show that he is the absolute supreme personality of Godhead in all the universes, avyahatam, and there is nobody else who can take that position. Vyakti kartum, in order to show that tada tadabhidadhanam chakarachyuta. Therefore, he also gave another name which is Shesha, because one meaning of Shesha is Lord Balaram, and the literal meaning of Shesha is the remainder. That is someone who is a remaining portion, who is not the complete. Shesha means a portion. So he gave the name Shesha simply to show that this particular personality, although his name is Ram and although he is the elder brother, but still he is Shesha. He is my remnant. So this is the translation. Krishna thought for some particular reason I have given him the name Ram this time, but short sighted people should not think that I have now become junior to him and thus should not exhibit faithlessness in me. Thinking in this way and to show his supreme position in the universe to everyone, the Supreme Lord named his brother as Shesha. Shesha is the remainder. So, dear devotees, after this, after Lord Balaram was attracted to the womb of Rohini, for the first time, the Lord appeared himself in the mind of Vasudeva. Srila Prabhupada describes, thus although Balaram appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as her son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who is always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the whole creation, with full inconceivable potencies. It is understood in this connection that Lord Krishna first of all situated himself in the unalloyed heart of Vasudeva, and from the heart of Vasudeva he was then transferred to the heart of Devaki. He was not put into the womb of Devaki by seminal discharge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potency, can appear in any way. It is not necessary for him to appear in the ordinary way by seminal injection within the womb of a woman. So, it is very important to note, dear devotees, that even when Lord Krishna personally appears in this world, first and foremost, he appears in the mind of his devotees. And first, before appearing personally in front of everyone's eyes, he first appears within the mind of his devotees. Sri Harisuri specifies a very interesting reason as to why Krishna appeared within the mind of Vasudev before he appeared in the world outside. He says, Gopalanam mama videyamihagratosti तत्पालकैव सतिरेव पुरोपयुक्ता इत्येव गोगणनियन्तरिचेतसीषो वासं चकार किमुवाभ्यसनाय तस्य. Krishna was thinking, when I grow up, I have to become a Gopal. The term Gopal, Go means cow and Pala means caretaker. So I have to become a caretaker of cows. But in order to become a Gopal or cow herd, I should first reside with an existing Gopal to learn how to become a Gopal. And dear devotees, as Srila Prabhupada has always told us, there are two meanings of the term go. One meaning is cow, another meaning is senses. So the second meaning of the term Gopal is protector of all the senses, or somebody who takes care of all the senses, and that is the mind, because the mind is the connector and protector, the herder of all the senses. So in order to learn how to become an effective Gopal, that is cowherd, Krishna first and foremost selected to reside with the Gopal, that is the protector of all the senses, which is the mind. So this is the realization given by him. Krishna thought, in my pastimes ahead, I have to perform the task of being a Gopal, cowherd, and therefore it is essential to stay within existing Gopal. For this reason, the Lord selected to reside within the Gopal, that is maintainer of all the Go, that is senses, which is the mind, in order to practice becoming a Gopal himself. So this is a beautiful reason why our Gopal, we can see here, he is literally a Gopal, he is a cowherd, but he stayed with Gopal, which is the mind, in order to practice being a Gopal. So at that point of time, Kamsa started seeing Krishna everywhere, because Kamsa was so afraid of Krishna that Kamsa saw Krishna everywhere. Everything in the world appeared as Krishna to him. So our commentator Sri Hari Suri says, Yad vaira chintana kridapya nishamsa kamso pashyat padartham akhilam khalu Krishna rupam tad bhakti charu rasaranjita manasaye pashyeyuratra nahi manam apekshyatenya. If Kamsa out of enmity was thinking of Krishna and was able to see the entire world as being full of Krishna, Sri Hari Suri says, Tad bhakti charu rasa ranjita manasaye. In this verse, he has put the term bhakti charu because it reminds me of the wonderful disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. Tad bhakti charu rasa ranjita manasaye. Sri Hari Suri says that what then to speak of those people who are bhakti charu, or those who are beautifully thinking of Krishna with bhakti ras in their minds, bhakti ras in their hearts. Definitely such people will be able to see Krishna everywhere in their lives. If Kamsa out of enmity can see Krishna everywhere, then what to speak of those bhakti charu bhaktas, of those devotees who are having the beautiful ras of Krishna bhakti in their hearts. Definitely they will be able to see Krishna everywhere, and there is no other separate proof needed for that. The translation is, even though Kamsa was Krishna's enemy and he thought of Krishna inimically, he was able to see Krishna everywhere around him out of fear. What then to speak of those whose minds revel always in the beautiful mellows of favorable devotional service? Such devotees can certainly see Krishna everywhere around them, and no separate proof is needed for this fact. This is the position of a devotee. This, dear devotees, is the position of a devotee. They can see the Lord everywhere around them, and there is absolutely no doubt about this fact. Finally, on the day of Janmashtami, that is today, Krishna appeared, and our devotee poet Sri Hari Suri, his Parama Guru, his guru's guru, had written a very nice verse about Krishna. Because when Krishna appeared in the prison house of Kamsa, he appeared between his two parents, Devaki and Vasudeva. And at that point, his Parama Guru writes this verse. आद्यन्तयोर्देव पदाङ्किताभ्यां व्यलोकि मध्योऽपि तथा पितृभ्यां यत्तादृशं पुण्यविशेषभाजां देवः कुतोऽप्युज्झति नो सनीडम्. Dear devotees, you can see that Krishna appeared between his two parents, that is Devaki and Vasudeva. And he is saying here that the entire world saw Krishna between his parents. So the entire world saw Krishna between Devaki and Vasudeva. But I also saw Krishna not only in between both of them, but I also saw him on both sides of both of them. So he did not only see Krishna between both of them, but he was able to see Krishna on the two sides of his parents also. So he saw three Krishnas, the commentator is saying. The entire world saw one Krishna between his parents, but I also saw Krishna on both sides of his parents. And I tried a lot to find the meaning of this verse, what exactly this verse means. And then I went back and saw the Sanskrit, and he has used a special term for Krishna. In the fourth line, you can see the term he has used is Deva. He has used a term Deva for Krishna. And this term Deva is used by many authors for Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami also says, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. So Krishna, one of the names of Krishna given in Vishnu Sahasranam is Deva. So he says, the entire world saw our Deva, in between both his parents. But I saw Deva also on both sides of his parents, because his mother's name is Deva Ki and his father's name is Vasudeva. So our Deva was present as a child between both his parents, and as the holy name Deva, he was present also on both sides of his parents. So our Lord Krishna appeared not only in one place, but he appeared in three simultaneous places between both his parents and on both sides of both his parents. A very sweet realization, dear devotees. And this is the time when Lord Krishna appeared on Janamashtami Tithi. At this point of time, I would like to conclude this presentation by speaking these wonderful words from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says there are many regulative principles in the Shastras and directions given by the spiritual master. These regulative principles should act as servants of the basic principle, that is, one should always remember Krishna and never forget him. So, dear devotees, I pray to the Lord, I pray to the Lord for all of you that, may this Janmashtami be all auspicious for all of you, and any small activity that you have done for the Lord, may that activity be magnified by millions and millions of times. And if there are any faults that may have occurred during anybody's execution of Janmashtami, may that fault be immediately nullified, dear devotees. On this day of Janmashtami, kindly keep me in your good wishes and prayers. And I would like to conclude by saying, Yadatra Khalitam Kinchit Vidvam Sahapurayantu Tat, Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit Tad Guroreva Menahi. Yadatra Skalitam Kinchit. If there were any mistakes in my presentation, Vidvam Sahapurayantu Tat. All of you are Vidwan, learned people. Please purify those mistakes and please correct me. But Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit. If you find anything, even a single sentence you found to be nice in the presentation, please remember, please do not forget. Tad Guru Reva. It belongs to my Guru Janas. May nahi. It doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you very much, Mahasundari Mataji, Ram Vijay Prabhu, all the wonderful devotees at ISKCON of Austin Round Rock. And I pray that all of you have a great Janmashtami filled with immense, joyous Smaran, Bhajan, and Krishna Seva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Hari Prashad Prabhu, for that wonderful, wonderful class. Request devotees to please turn on your camera so we can shortly say Hari Bol to Hari Prashad Prabhu. Prabhu, every time you give class, I always love hearing the birds and everything in the background. It makes you even more feel like you're in Vrindavan. So then I started hearing the birds. I'm like, yes, I have to start paying attention. But thank you so much for sharing those nectarian words of Harishari Prabhu, and helping us dive deeper, and leaving us off at that moment of Krishna's appearance. So for us, as we're getting ready in the next hour and a half, it helps us set the mood for Krishna's appearance. Thank you so much,
Thank
Haripasha, again for that wonderful, wonderful class. If devotees want to quickly say Haribol to Haripasha Prabhu, we can do that. Turn on your cameras and say Haribol.